Hey everybody, welcome into the week 5 waiver wire live stream here at Fantasy Pros. I'm your very old and tired host, Dan Harris. With me is my very excitable and brilliant and awesome co-host, Lauren Carpenter. Lauren, we've been talking for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm just like, we're just talking about the fact that I'm basically barely sitting up in my chair, and you look like you're ready to run a marathon. What's up? Are you ready to bring the heat today for the waiver wire chat?
Yeah, I'm rocking my I want to say heavy metal. Let's call it classic rock. I got Guns N' Roses. I almost had black nails, but I did not because my nail polish was way too old. And I don't, but I have it. I've got my really bling earrings on. I'm ready to go. Fired up. Let's
This
do
is
it.
very good because I am draped in whatever a snuggie, a blanket, whatever I'm going to call this right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to constantly toss things over to you, and then I'm going to nap for like 2 or 3 minutes,
Totally
and then I'm
fine.
going to pop. You're good. Okay, very
Totally
good.
fine. Power
Okay,
nap. It's good.
so we've got a good waiver wire show for you guys today. There are some very intriguing names. I'll take your questions. If you're watching right now and you want to ask a question, you have to be a subscriber to the channel. Which, if you're not, just subscribe. Helps us out a lot, goes a long way for us. And if you are a subscriber and you're watching, click a like. That would also help us out. Really appreciate it. Let's get into it, Lauren. And again, ask some questions. I will be monitoring the chat. I will throw in some questions later on in the second half. We will just basically take all questions. But let's start, Lauren, with the obvious question. Who is your number one waiver wire pickup of the week?
That's going to be Damian Williams, running back for the Chicago Bears. He obviously is behind David Montgomery, and he is going to be, he meaning Montgomery, is likely to miss anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks. And that's into their week 10 bye. This is a long time.
Yep.
Now, Williams was a little banged up, but it's just considered a thigh bruise, so he should be okay. So, but obviously, the one of the D Williams that always really confuses me.
That's
Damian
right.
Williams is going to be. I know it's awful. Is going to be your number one waiver priority. I'm in a pickle because I have Christian McCaffrey and David Montgomery as my RB1 and RB2. So yeah, I might be going after Khalil Herbert because Damian Williams is signed in almost all of my leagues.
Yeah. So first of all, that's like a good PSA is that there is obviously Darrell Williams, who also, by the way, I think should be picked up just generally speaking, not quite as high a priority as Damian Williams. But if
Mm-hmm.
you are out there and you are picking up a free agent running back and you see D Williams, please make sure it is the running back from Chicago, because I agree with my esteemed colleague here that Damian Williams is the very clear number one running back, number one overall pickup, actually. And when you look at the schedule, Lauren, here's the thing. Let's assume, first of all, with injuries, I don't know about you, when they give me a 3 to 5 week timetable, like I always take the max end of it
Yes.
when I'm concerned, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you just assume that's what it's going to be. And you are right. They have got a week 10 bye here. The next couple of weeks, Las Vegas and Green Bay, those are two, defenses that you can exploit on the
Yes.
ground. After that, it gets a little tough. They've got the Bucks next. But again, one of the things with Williams, Lauren, again, is kind of like Montgomery. He can factor into the passing game, right? Like he's not just like
Mm-hmm.
a run it in like Damian Harris, right? And that's
Yeah.
some way you can get around with the Bucks.
Yeah, absolutely. So he actually had a pretty good game in his own right with David Montgomery on the field. He had 8 rush attempts for 55 yards and a touchdown, but he also had 2 targets, 2 receptions for 15 yards. That's low for him. And he's still in there. So that's one of the reasons why I think Khalil Herbert could be a really sneaky stash too, because you never know what they're going to do with these two running backs. Kind of like how they were working David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. Unfortunately, Trey Cohen is hurt. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Plus, I'm desperate.
Yeah.
That too.
Well, let's get into, what let's talk about first of all, like assuming you
Are we
need a
talking
running
about
back.
our feelings about me being desperate and sad?
No, I mean, we
Okay.
can talk about that offline, but I think that for the most part, I am the desperate and sad one, and I have the monopoly on this show of doing that. So
Yeah.
let's just talk about Clayne Bouchard. Like I'm monitoring the chat, guys. Again, you got to be a subscriber to leave a chat to say anything in the chat. Claire Bouchard says, "How much fab would you drop for Damian Williams? And does it matter if you are the Montgomery owner?"
No, I do not think it matters. And I would go aggressive here with your fab because, like I was mentioning before, one of the reasons why I did bring up that Damian Williams is productive in his own right is because he has a ton of value as a standalone running back option at your flex with a fully healthy David Montgomery. So this makes him even more important. And what makes him even more valuable is we're not talking about 2 or 3 weeks here. We're talking of week 11 is maybe the next time we're going to see him. So you're going to get a lot of traction from Damian Williams. So Fab is always so very tricky because it just depends on your league. It depends on how aggressive they are. It depends on how needy that you are. But if you start your benchmark at maybe 15% of your Fab, gauge
Mhm.
the rest of your league and how that goes. And you can go all the way up to 25, 30%.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that because he is going to be incredibly valuable rest of season, not just with David Montgomery being hurt.
First of all, what I've seen from these free agent pickups, Lauren, and I think we saw with Elijah Mitchell, where I was like, I'd go up to 30% for him. You bid 30% on the guy, you were not getting anywhere close to bringing
Nope.
him in, right?
Nope.
He
It's
was
true.
going
Yep.
75%. I imagine the same thing is going to be for Williams, but I'm in agreement with you where I'm probably around the 20% mark. I'd push to 25 if you really needed it, but still there are question marks. I mean, it's not as if we know for sure that he's going to step in and absolutely dominate. He does have the thigh bruise. Like, who knows whether or not that keeps him out. But I do have a question because a lot of people are asking in the chat about Tyson Williams. Blue and
Oh,
Gold
yeah.
specifically asked about that. If you have Tyson Williams, are you dropping him for somebody like David Montgomery?
You know, honestly, I hate to say this, but I think I would. I think I would drop someone like Tyson. And I know that's so painful, especially if you spent so much fab to get him or wasted a waiver priority. I get it. But right now, we're looking at what can give you production and what can give you fantasy points. And right now, it looks like Latavius Murray is that guy in the backfield for now. And that's what's so frustrating about the Ravens is that we really don't have a lot of clarity. It's very similar to the San Francisco 49ers issue, where when you're looking at someone like Damian Williams, there's a lot less murk and mud that goes around there with him. So, you know, if you don't want to spend that kind of fab on Damian Williams, I completely get it, but I think I would drop Tyson Williams for Damian Williams, and as much as I hate it, it might be something you have to do.
I am in agreement with you. I think that you have to at this point because look, there's no way you can feel confident starting Tyson Williams this weekend against Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
Because a surprise inactive last week. Like, you're going to be on Monday night and you're going to be sitting there being like, oh, maybe he'll get a role, and then he's not even there. So you've got to win now. So
Mm-hmm.
as much as I think it could be better for Tyson Williams, I would also make that switch. All right, so let's go. You and I are in agreement here. We've got Damian Williams as our number one. Number two here, because my FantasyPros colleagues, some of them, we've differed here on who your number two pickup is. So who's yours?
Oh, this one is really tricky because I feel like it's kind of a trick question, but I know what mine is. Maybe not what the whole Fantasy Pros is. Is that okay?
What we all differ. This is what I'm saying. Whoever you say, you're going to be right with somebody because we basically have everybody different. So who is it for you?
Okay, I'm going to stick with the running back position here, and this may be a little bit controversial for some people because it's not as set in stone like the David Montgomery situation is, but I would pick up Samaje Perine.
Mm-hmm.
I would go ahead and do that because Joe Mixon has a high ankle sprain.
Yep.
He has the reputation and the history of not being sustainable season long, so I think that he could be valuable for you. Again, question marks here because we're not sure if Joe Mixon is going to play or how much Samaje Perine is going to be involved along with Chris Evans, I believe it is, who
Yes.
is the third running back behind there. So really not quite sure what those two are going to do. But for me, from based on Mixon's history, I am banking on that Pirine is likely going to be playing more often than not. And even if Mixon is healthy and on the field, I have a feeling they're going to try to extend Mixon as long as possible for an elongated season. So I think that means more Samaje Perine. So for me, that's actually who I'm targeting in some of my leagues because Damian
Yep.
Williams is gone. So I'm going Samaje Perine.
Absolutely. That was
I
one of
can
the
make the
guys on.
case for wide receivers, though. I can make a case for a lot of wide receivers here, but
Of
for me,
course.
it's Samaje Perine right after Damian Williams. Two
You
most
can.
important.
This is what I'm saying. Like, you can make a case for several different guys at this point as
Yes.
your number two pickup. Let's talk about P Ryan though for a second.
Yes.
Look, here's the. I Managers have to be having just these horrible, horrible flashbacks to what last year was like with Joe Mixon, where
Yep.
it was like, this should be minor, right? You should be fine. Oh, he'll probably play this week. Oh,
Get
wait, he's
deja
out.
vu.
Then he's placed on IR with a foot sprain. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't know about this. I will say that we had Dr. Chow, David Chow, who appears on our Friday podcast. He came on after the Thursday night game and he said, this strikes me as probably a 1 to 2 week thing. I think he's going to miss some time here. So I think even though Mixon has been deemed week to week and or day to day, depending on which quote comes out of which coach, I think it's a good bet that he's going to miss this week. And if so, it's got to be Pirine, right? Like, I
Yep.
don't know whether or not it's going to be the full boat. And that's the thing. Is it possible Chris Evans factors in more than we are expecting? You mentioned him. Does that give you trepidation? Because really, we don't know exactly what the breakdown is going to be without Mixon.
Yeah, I'm gonna bank on what Giovanni Bernard was able to do in that offense, and then just have to use the assumption that Samaje P. Ryan is going to be stepping into that type of a role.
Yep.
Does it give me trepidation? Yes. Not enough for me to want to avoid the situation.
Okay, very good. I think that that's fair. And again, the matchups for them are not terrible
No.
whatsoever. They've got Green Bay, and you attack
Hmm.
them on the ground if you can attack them. And then they've got Detroit. That's a good couple of games here for him. And again, after that, it's Baltimore. By that point, Mixon will probably be back. But again, win your week at this point. That's all you care about. And my guess is if Mixon is out, P. Ryan will rank probably as an RB2. So I'm in
Hmm.
agreement with you there. Okay, next up, sticking with the running back position. Are we going
Let's do
wide
it.
receiver or what?
Let's see. For my third off the board here, you know what? I gotta take this guy seriously, and I feel like 2014 called, and they want like most of their wide receivers back, but AJ Green, I think it's legit now.
Okay.
I think we can say with relative certainty that he is getting involved in this offense. He has seen exactly 6 targets every single week since the season started. He has had three over double-digit fantasy points, games of over 100 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. I mean, he is getting involved in this offense. So if you need somebody, I really like looking at AJ Green right there for the wide receiver position. Another name I would bring up too,
Yeah.
Laviska Chenault, but I don't know. He seems pretty heavily rostered. It
Yeah.
varies based on platform. So I might go after someone like Laviska Chenault because of the volume, but I really like the upside of AJ Green. He's a veteran, he can get it done. And Kyler Murray seems to trust him like he's looking his way. I love that. I want a piece of that offense. And if that's the one available, I'm taking it.
I think that there are just targets available in the best and most explosive offense that you've got in the NFL
Yep.
right now. And really, what I'm seeing right now is it is DeAndre Hopkins, and there's some volatility behind him. But the second man up in that offense now is somehow AJ Green, who,
AJ
like you
Green.
said, has been pretty consistent. I've got questions here. Would you drop R. Lewis Rogers 77? Would you drop Michael Pittman? He wants to know for the running backs, but I'm wondering if you have Michael Pittman, would you drop him for AJ Green?
That is a great question. I feel like this is going to be more of a personal choice. I don't have as much faith in Michael Pittman, I think, as other analysts or fantasy managers do. So yes, I would do that. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, totally get that as well. I would also drop Michael Pittman for Damian Williams, but not
Okay.
Samaje Perine.
Not so much appearing because that was a question that we just got from MN7 Miami, who was asking about that as well. Okay, so let me ask you a couple of things. Okay, first, I realize I probably should have mentioned this, but a lot of people are asking about Latavius Murray because
Yes.
he is available in some leagues. I use the cutoff of 60% among the various sites. Murray is over that, but I do think that he is available in many leagues, and we're getting a lot of questions about him. So if you have Murray available in your
Mhm.
league that you can pick up, where does he slot in with Williams and Pirine?
Man, that is so tough. Because Latavius Murray is going to be very touchdown dependent, but it's a rush first team. It's a run first team. It's run, run, run. In fact, they just put Vic Fangio just had a whole situation about the fact that they were a run first team, and instead of
Yeah.
taking a knee, they ran the ball. So
Yep.
in that particular case, I like the other running backs better, but I think in your fantasy lens, it should be Latavius Murray because he
Yep.
is the one that is getting the goal line look. So it could be a little more volatile. But when you have a team like the Ravens that runs, 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 and runs, you know that he's going to get touches and he's not going to be phased out, which is one of the things it's tough when you have a negative game script, you're throwing and throwing and throwing. That's just not what the Ravens do. So he's
Yep.
guaranteed to get touches unless he gets hurt. So whereas I like the talent of the other two running backs for the fantasy only perspective, it's going to be Latavius Murray if he's available.
I agree with you. I am in on Latavius Murray, and I think that regardless of Tyson Williams, like Murray is sort of the type of guy that fits their scheme. The fact that Le'Veon Bell and Devonta Freeman are the other guys there, I mean, it's just no contest in terms of
No contest.
effectiveness at this stage of their career. So I agree with that. Then Williams, then Pirine. So let me name another wide receiver. We're getting a ton of comments on him. I know I listened
Good.
to our waiver wire show that people love. Darnell Mooney.
Yes.
Everybody wants Darnell Mooney. Now, Darnell Mooney is not Darnell Mooney for me. I'm going to throw it out there and I'm going to give a teaser and you don't have to listen to me. He is actually only my third wide receiver this week. So for you, talk to me about Darnell Mooney and how you feel about him.
I think that there was so much expectation for Darnell Mooney to be that, gem downfield threat like the Henry Ruggs and the big like Darnell
Hmm.
Mooney, and it hasn't hit yet. So the fact that we did see a spark of life it's suddenly like, yes, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. So everyone wants to just freak out and add Darnell Mooney. I don't believe it yet. I think he needs a few more weeks before he grows into that role. Now, does that mean you pass over him on the waiver wire? Not necessarily. If you have the room to be able to stash him, and if you want to start him because if you believe in it, I understand that. But I agree with you, Dan. There are a few other wide receivers that I would target over Darnell Mooney. That is not to say that I don't like him as a pickup and stash. Absolutely not. That doesn't mean I'm saying don't go out and grab him. I'm just saying not even pump the brakes. I'm saying temper your expectations for the next few weeks because I think there still needs to be some quarterback legs that need to grow a little bit for Justin Fields. And if it is Justin Fields, because it very well could be Andy Dalton again. So we're not quite sure what's going on there, which gives me concern.
Yeah, so I know he got a ton of air yards. I know he's gotten more targets than Allen Robinson. I know he's more involved in the offense. But basically, we either have Justin Fields as a quarterback who, at best, is very inconsistent, and or we have Andy Dalton, who basically, has 4 intended air yards, per pass. That's not going to do it there for a guy like Darnell Mooney. So for me, I'm just not buying it yet. Like you, I
Yeah,
know Yates and Joe and Frank Stample, they all went nuts over him, but for me, he's not the guy for me. And actually, so you said Mooney isn't even your 2, right? You said for pickups in terms of
correct.
wide receivers. All right, who's your 2?
All right, my two besides AJ Green, my
Mm-hmm.
next, which I can't believe he's available, but Mr. Reliable himself, Jamison Crowder.
Ooh,
Jamison
okay.
Crowder. Do it, do it, do it. It does not matter if there is a Pomeranian Jack Russell Terrier mix throwing him the football. He is going to get it done. He has shown it yet again with a rookie quarterback in Zach Wilson, and they won. And I
Yeah,
think a big
darn
reason
right they
why was
did.
a big reason why is because they have both threats now, giving defenses the fits. And that's Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder. And Corey Davis is rostered in a lot of places. So Jamison Crowder is your next up. He is also the veteran that I have a lot of faith in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, he did so great in his first game back. 9 targets,
Yep.
7 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown right out of the gate. I like him because I like the volume. I like him because I like the consistency. He's one of those starters I really don't have to worry about, even in like matchups. I'm kind of like I still have my faith in Jamison Crowder because he finds a way to get it done.
Yeah, I've been thinking about Crowder because I had him ranked kind of low on my waiver wire list just because you know, I wasn't ready to draw conclusions in one game against
I
admittedly a weak
am.
opponent. But no, I think you're probably right. No, no, no. And I think I probably missed the boat on this one a little bit because we have seen Jamison Crowder, a healthy Jamison Crowder, even in a terrible system like with Adam Gase, be kind of that reliable option
He's relevant.
for he always is relevant. He's not a
Mm-hmm.
superstar. He never is, especially in the Jets offense. But for the most part, he is relevant almost without question. And now you've got a rookie quarterback it's gonna open up lanes here because you've got Corey
Mm-hmm.
Davis already. Maybe Elijah Moore comes back from his concussion. You've got Jameson Crowder always available, always that little safety blanket. So I think it's a good call here. And I think, I might have him too low, but let me talk to you about who my number one wide receiver is. And it's Curtis Samuel. He's rostered in
Oh
fewer than
yeah, yeah.
50%. Okay. So he's rostered
Agreed.
in fewer.
I'm
Here,
assuming that he should have been picked up, but yeah, if he's not, yeah, 100% agree with you
would
there.
he? Oh, okay. All right. So wait, let's start there then, because he's
Yeah.
rostered from what I could see now. It was lower when we started in 48.4% of leagues. Would you put him at the top of your list above AJ Green if he's available?
I think I might. Ooh, that is so tough. Okay. No, I think I still might take the upside of AJ Green over Curtis Samuel. But I mean, we're talking splitting hairs with a hatchet, my favorite
Your
phrase to
favorite.
say, my
Yep.
favorite. But I think I still might go with AJ Green simply because of the quarterback position, simply because of who's throwing him the football here. That's the baby fine hair that I give it. And I kind of assuming that Curtis Samuel's own because when I'm looking at my waivers, I do the
Yep.
the 35 to 40% and below.
Okay.
So
Yep.
above that, I tend to kind of gloss over a little bit, much to
Yep.
my chagrin, everybody. I'm sorry about that, but that's what I do when I check out waivers. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do. He should be rostered if you have the ability to do so.
If he's available,
Absolutely.
he's my number one. And the
Yeah.
reason is again, there are several reasons. Number one, I liked him coming into the year before he got injured. You already saw it in this first game back, even though he played limited snaps. They're going to use him in a variety of ways. He's going to be used out of the backfield. Scott Turner
Yep.
knows what to do with him. He did it in Carolina. So I think we're going to be able to do that. And the Logan Thomas injury, by the way, don't discount that because
Yes.
that was sort of the other reliable pass catcher in that offense. Now that he's out,
Mm-hmm.
I think that just opens up targets. So Samuel is a guy who I really think that you can get in your lineup. Let me throw out a couple other names to you that I see people asking about. Hunter Renfrow is a guy, again, caught a touchdown yesterday. People are sort of excited about him. Devontae Parker, now with Will Fuller, expected to miss some time. He's been pretty consistently targeted. Rashad Bateman coming back from IR. Obviously, he was activated, but not in the game last
Mm-hmm.
week. Don't know whether or not he'll be here. And Kadarius Toney, another guy who, again,
Yeah.
stepped up here without Sterling Shepard, without Darius Slayton. Any of those guys interest you? And if so, in what order would you put them?
Yeah, that names again because Hunter Renfrow,
Yep.
absolutely, I am about that Hunter Renfrow life. The NFL player, not the MLB player, just so
Right.
you know. So yeah,
Yes.
Hunter Renfrow for sure. He's Mr. Third and Renfrow. So yeah, I'm all about that life. And
Yep.
which were the other ones that you said?
Start with Devontae Parker from the
Yes,
Dolphins.
Devontae Parker is another one I do like. He's seeing those targets. He is a playmaker. We saw that over the weekend as well. And Brissett
Yep.
is actually starting to play more like a starter again and not like that freaked out backup
Right.
as he's starting to get his legs underneath him while Tua Tagovailoa is out. And then what I really like about adding Devontae Parker is that he's going to be a rest of season wide receiver that you're happy that you have with a
Yep.
healthy Tua. And so that's why I like that Devontae Parker one in there. Kadarius Toney, I'm a little bit more about because I think as Evan Ingram starts to get a little bit more football feet underneath him, I think he's going to be a little bit more used. I also don't trust Daniel Jones as much as I think other people
Sure.
do when it comes to Kadarius Toney. That's one of those names that it was very exciting in the offseason and it was like, oh, what's he going to do? And then he had that big game and now it's
Yep.
like, we love it. No, I don't. I'm really not into that. I'm not into the Kadarius Toney. Not that I'm saying that you shouldn't be. It's just not
Sure.
this does not spark things within my brain when I think of Kadarius Toney in that one. I think there was one more. Did I miss?
Rashad
Rashad
Bateman from
Bateman.
the yep.
Another one. If you have a really deep bench that you want to pick up and stash here, I think so. But he is a rookie. No time under his belt at all on a run first team. So
Yep.
there's that.
I like Bateman as a talent. I just think, again, you're right. And I think that, a couple things. One, he's missed so much time. It's going to take any rookie because just he missed all of camp almost because of the groin injury. So I think that
Yep.
that's really going to take time to get up to speed. And I do think that Marquise Brown has taken the opportunity to develop, dropsies aside in week 3, to develop into that kind of reliable wide receiver one
Oh.
here for that
Oh.
team, especially with Mark Andrews. Not a wide receiver one in fantasy. No, no, no. But
It's
for
like
for for Baltimore.
Kelly.
No, no, no. I'm not hot take crazy man. I'm like cold, boring take, Dan. So, all right. So that's where we are. But I agree, by the way, Renfro is a guy who, if you need a body, especially if you just need a guy who is going to be there, he comes with an incredibly safe floor. That offense, even yesterday when it was really out of sync, still you saw Renfro produce.
Yep.
So I definitely think he's somebody. Let's touch on quarterbacks. Let's touch on tight ends. And then we have 1,100 people here watching, a ton
Oh,
of questions
hey.
coming in. So we're going to get to all of them. Start with quarterbacks. Okay, I guess let's start. Is it Trey Lance? Even with this now, sort of Jimmy Garoppolo may start this weekend suddenly. Is Lance your number one quarterback pickup?
No, my number one quarterback pickup, if he has not been picked up already, is Taylor Heineke.
Wow. Okay, he is not. I mean, he's 10.1% rostered. So my guess is he's
Yes,
available, right? Yep.
likely available. And he also could be available after free agency as well. But we're talking about 20 plus fantasy points, even in really bad matchups and in blowout games. He is getting it done through the air with his feet. He is a no BS kind of quarterback. And I really, really like that. It's like we talked about this before, but he has like that Ryan Fitzpatrick YOLO attitude, meets like a running back, and
Yeah.
like kind of melded and have that really grit. And I don't love him for this week. I think his matchup is tough, but again, he's kind of proven that he can be more on the side of matchup proof. Not that he is, but he could lean more towards being matchup proof. But they faced Kansas City and Green Bay in week 6 and week 7. Those are great matchups for Washington. So he's one I would pick up. I actually already have him in several leagues, and I benched Ryan Tannehill to play Taylor Heineke,
Good.
and I'm
Yes,
very
I would
glad
have
that
done
I
the same.
did.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I'm going to play him over the next 3 weeks. So he's my number one pickup on the quarterback side, but I could make a case for Sam Darnold, and I can also make a case for Daniel Jones since we are talking about the Giants.
Yeah, I would pick up Jones. I think before Heineke. I think Heineke is a good pickup this week. For Jones, this is the optimal version that we've ever seen. He's turned the ball over twice in 4 games. That is just not what he does. So
No.
this has been, and he's on pace to shatter career highs in passing yards and rushing yards. The offense is really working right now. So he's a guy again against Dallas, a high total here. I think you can stream him. So what do you do with Lance? If Lance is out there because of the uncertainty, are you not even picking him up here? Or are you just leaving him out there?
I think because my needs when I target the waiver wire are going to be more positionally needy when it comes to the running back position, and the opportunity due to injury to have starting running backs that you can snag off the waiver wire pushes Trey Lance down even further. But let's
Okay.
say in a vacuum where you don't have any needs at running back, you don't have any needs at wide receiver, you're not even maybe streaming the quarterback position. I do like Trey Lance in that respect because he can get it done on the ground. There is no denying that. But there also is this weird thing where Jimmy Garoppolo is like, ow, I hurt myself. I'm going to be out for a few weeks. And then, like Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, they're like, no, you're not. He might start next week. It's a very odd situation. I don't know what's going on. So, when am I going to get a full game out of Trey Lance? When am I going to be able to see him play 4 full quarters? And am I willing to risk a starting spot with Trey Lance in a super flex? Absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate. But in a single quarterback league, that stresses me out. So I don't know if I would have the cojones, if you will, to put in Trey Lance when I know that there's another quarterback that is going to be playing the entire game, or that I know is going to be starting this week, which is
All right.
where I kind of backpedal
Sorry.
on Trey Lance.
Absolutely. I understand. Like, it's possible he won't. Man, if Jimmy G starts this week, I'm going to be absolutely. I know they're talking about it, but man,
Yeah.
it's going to blow me away. All right. Tight end position, Lauren. There is somebody who's pretty widely available who I like. Is there somebody available who you like this week?
Yeah, Dalton Schultz. I think the Blake Jarwin experiment is done, unfortunately, and Dalton Schultz has been getting the looks, even with a fumble. Dak Prescott still went back to him, very heavily targeted, which is what you want with the tight end position because it's normally an absolute wasteland. But he had 8 targets, 6 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. It was a great game, and Dak Prescott looks his way in the red zone and in the end zone, which is what we want when we are looking at fantasy production. So for me, Dalton Schultz is one that just jumps right out at me, and I do have 2 other names as well that are interesting
Okay. Ben S
as well.
first. Before we get there, Ben S asks, would you prefer Noah Fant or Dalton Schultz rest of season?
Ouch! Oh my goodness! You know what? I would have to take a look at their schedule season long. I don't have that in front of me because that is
Hmm.
such a difficult decision that my tiebreaker would have to come down to like some intangibles and then scheduling. Sorry, my cat's in here.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, he wants out. And yeah, so I think I may stick with Noah Fant. I think I may stick with Noah Fant because there's no Jerry Judy, there's no KJ Hamler, and it's Drew Lock. Drew Lock, if he is the starter, because Teddy
Right.
Bridgewater is in concussion protocol, so we'll see what
Yes.
happens over the weekend. Drew Lock does like to target Noah Fant, so we like that as well. I think I would lean staying with Noah Fant as opposed to Dalton Schultz,
I'm in
but that's
agreement.
hard.
No, I'm in agreement. Schultz has been great. He's still though. Again, you've got Blake Jarwin, who also got a touchdown this last
Yes,
game,
yes.
cutting in for the snaps here. So I like Schultz. I think he's a great pickup. You mentioned you have 2 other names at tight end. Who are they?
Yeah, so Evan Ingram, we talked about him too. I think he's available in like 34. He's rostered in 34% of leagues,
Hmm.
30-ish, 34, whatever it is. It's
Yep.
around there. Yeah, and he is also, just kind of getting rolling in the 2021 season after hurting himself in the final game of preseason. Sterling Shepard is still hurt. He didn't really do much with his 6 targets. He had 5 receptions for 27 yards. But if he got a touchdown, you're looking at a really good game from Evan Ingram. And he was targeted in the red zone. He was targeted to score touchdowns. It just did not come to fruition this week. That doesn't mean that it won't moving forward. And Evan Ingram is pretty talented too. So Evan Ingram is another name that I would keep your eye on if he's not already rostered. And then one that is kind of a desperation play, you might even be able to pick him up in free agency after waivers run. But Cameron Brate, with no Rob Gronkowski, out with broken ribs and a punctured lung, Tom Brady is not afraid to target Cameron Brate. And even though he's going to be targeting everyone else, he's going to be targeting Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown, obviously. But he has the potential to see a handful of targets in a very high flying Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense.
All right. So let me throw out another name here. Dawson Knox. He's rostered in 33% of leagues. Do you have interest in him? Big game here. against the Texans. Every tight end has a big game against the Texans still, but he's got now four touchdowns or four tight ends, maybe, in his last 3 games. Seems pretty involved here in the Buffalo offense. Any interest in adding him?
I do like Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox for me though is touchdown dependent from last year. Okay, so my view on Dawson Knox is evolving. I'm still waiting to be sold that he needs to be a must add. But if he is available and there aren't other options for you, absolutely Dawson Knox is startable. It's just kind of weird what Buffalo is doing with their pass catchers. I mean, Diggs has been very quiet, and Emmanuel Sanders, welcome back to 2014. Like I said before, he is now this huge name in the Buffalo Bills offense, which is really really exciting to see. So I don't know how long Dawson Knox is going to be super relevant.
Yeah.
That's my only hesitation. But when it comes
I
to tight ends, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. By the way, the one thing I will say is if you are desperate for tight end and some of these guys aren't available, both Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith face the Texans obviously this week,
Oh, good
considering they're on the
point.
Patriots. That is a matchup that's like the go back a few years, go to the Cardinals, who you could start me or Lauren if we were the tight end for the team
Well,
facing
I
them, and you
work
would
out,
get
Dan,
points.
so
I do
obviously.
not, but either one of us could still do it. But regardless, I do think that you can start any tight end at this point against the Texans. They have just gotten absolutely lambasted by that position this entire
Heck
year.
it.
But I will say something. I will say that I'm more interested in Knox on a season long perspective because here's what I think.
And I can
I
understand that for sure.
I think he has sort of taken over a role that was available, and we sort of said, well, maybe it'll be either Emmanuel Sanders or both Emmanuel Sanders and Gabriel Davis, but instead Gabriel
Mm-hmm.
Davis is completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
Knox is
he
relevant.
is.
He's athletic. So for me as a guy who, especially, you're against KC, you've got to, I think the total is like 56.5 or something in this game. There are going to be so many points in this
Yeah,
game
that's true. That's
that
a good
he's a
point.
guy who I might be ready to go with. All right. We've got a lot of people still watching. We've got a lot of questions. That's what we're going to do for the rest of the time. So just ask your questions. I will try to get to as many as we can. In the meantime, like the video if you are here watching. That helps us out. If you are not subscribed, that's how you add a comment. That's what I would like to do. Subscribe to the channel here, of course, and like the video. Really helps us out. Let's get into it. If from Chris Hanzi says, if Jared Cook is available, another big game yesterday, would you prefer Dalton Schultz or Jared Cook?
Oh, this is I kind of see them almost in a very similar tier here. I think I'd go Jared Cook.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's where I am as well. I mean, Cook is really, there's very little reason to doubt him right now
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And he's just producing each and every week from Mr. Park Place 757 Virginia. I don't know if he's giving his address, but we'll visit you soon. He wants to know, is Cordero Patterson the truth? Are you a buyer here into Patterson?
We talked about this our very first live waiver wire show, and I told you to go get him because I believe
Yep.
in Cordero
Yes,
Patterson,
you
and I am
did.
sticking by it, and I am not getting away from it because I have believed in Cordero Patterson after week 1. I did not heading into the week. I was like, oh yeah, who? Oh yeah, that guy. And then we saw him play, and it was like, sorry, Mike Davis, that is rough. But he lines up as a wide receiver. He can line up as a running back. He can make incredible catches and he can run. So absolutely, I think he is the real deal. And even in a negative game script, which Atlanta is frequently doing, they are still using him. So he is a very versatile part of this offense. So yes, and I'm glad it came to fruition because I didn't want to look like an idiot.
I would like to apologize for looking like an idiot because I was not on Cordero Patterson either after week 1 or
I
even
didn't
after
mean to
week
just
2.
insult you, by the way.
Oh, first of all, you can insult me all you want, especially when it's justified, which it often is, and it is in this. I will own up to it. I don't know why I was not buying into it. I mean, it's the snap share, really, is what it was, and it seemed
Mm-hmm.
fluky. But at this point, he is the truth. I'm gonna have him ranked as an RB2 again, or a wide receiver if you want to get there, but as an RB2 rest of the season because
Yeah.
you can't deny what is
He's a
going
high
on here.
upside RB2. I
What can you
mean,
do?
he's been proven it, and it
I
doesn't matter
mean,
what kind of game. It doesn't matter who they're
nope.
facing. It's just like, where are you, Cordero? There you are.
100% agree. Kyle Falicki asks, I have Conklin. Do I drop him for either Mike Gesicki or Hunter Henry this week in half PPR?
Oh, I like this. Yes, you can do that. And
Yep.
I would prefer Gasicki,
Yep.
simply because he has a little bit more longevity rest of season. But if someone else somehow gets Gasicki, then you can stream that with Hunter Henry like we were just talking about. But I prefer Gasicki if you can get him.
I agree. Gesicki is somehow heavily involved right now. The absence of Will Fuller will only continue to add in those targets. And P.S. They play the Bucks this week. That means there is going to be over under 4 rushing attempts from the running backs as they just lean
Yeah.
into the pass. So there should be a
And if
lot
we're
there.
sorry, if we're apologizing, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I shall apologize because one of the things that I got wrong about the Vikings Browns game was that I thought they would utilize Tyler Conklin a little bit
Sure.
because
Sure.
that's the only thing the Browns were weakest against was the tight end position. But one thing I did get right, so I'm gonna like say sorry, but then be like, "But I told you so." This was not going to be the game that everyone expected it to be, and Kirk Cousins was going to blow up and have this ginormous game. It wasn't going to happen with Kevin Stefanski coming back to Minnesota. He's the only, he not the only, but he, if anyone else ever knows how to shut down that offense, it's going to be Kevin Stefanski. So I was glad I was right on that one.
Yeah, I agree
But
with
sorry
you.
about Tyler Conklin.
Yeah, I liked him too. It's fine. No big deal. I like
Woo!
apologizing for all our faults. I feel like
I
there are a lot
know.
of fantasy people out there who are like,
Stan's fault.
it is my fault. You can blame me. Always blame me. Very funny. I told people this week on my Discord stages, on my YouTube live stream, to please just DM me or hit me on Twitter and just blame me when things go south. I will own it. I will take the L for it. But Nathan Brecht asks about a player who a lot of fantasy managers are asking about.
Uh-oh.
It's Miles Sanders. So
Ah!
basically, what do I do with Miles Sanders is his question.
Mm.
Sermon is my best bench running back right now. Do I just sit Miles Sanders and play the waiver wire game? Do you continue to roll him out there?
You really need to continue to roll him out there. He has the potential to be an RB1. I know it has not pulled through. Defenses that they're playing against are scheming against Miles Sanders. And there's only so many times that you cannot run your best running back. Like, I don't understand what the Eagles are doing. This is very
Yes.
weird. It doesn't make any sense to me. So you don't want to be that person that misses out on a really big Miles Sanders game, but you're also going to have massive amounts of nausea and heartburn putting him in your starting lineup. My best bet for you, if he has a huge game, hopefully it's soon, trade him away.
This is really frustrating. I don't
It's
understand
so heartbreaking. This is why
I
I
don't
stayed away from Miles Sanders. Every year, I'm like, do not believe in Miles Sanders. It never comes to fruition. And then here we are yet again in 2021. It's heartbreaking.
I was ready to buy in after week 1 because I was like, look at the way they're running this offense, look at the touches, and then they've just totally gotten away from him.
Sneaky.
My guess is
Liars. Frauds.
this week I'll probably have him still ranked as like a flex. I think he's probably going to be out of the RB2 conversation, but I think I'll
Oh,
probably
so
say he's a start.
weird.
I don't know what it is. They're against Carolina. They're going to need points in this game. So
Ugh.
my guess
Yeah,
is he'll
no.
be ranked, but probably outside of the RB2 conversation there. From Brevin Hampton Music, are Gaskin and Ayuk droppable?
Gaskin, yes. Ayuk, if you have the opportunity to keep Ayuk on your bench until we get a little bit more rhythm and consistency at the quarterback position, I would really hold on to him. Really, really hold on to him. But Gaskin, wow. You let Malcolm Brown basically take over your role in the Dolphins offense. What is happening? Jacoby Brissett had more rushing yards than Miles Gaskin. My heart broken again in so many pieces. I think you can drop Miles Gaskin.
I
Maybe because
agree with
I'm
you.
angry.
No, you're correct. Sorry, I was drinking. You got
I
me so fired up.
literally, I know. I literally just like stopped what I was saying just so y'all could catch Dan
Sorry.
drinking
Sorry about
water.
that, guys. I do. I have my very cool, very manly set goals and demolish them water bottle, so I
Oh,
can know exactly.
yay.
I do not set goals or demolish them when I do, but
Oh, I
regardless,
do.
oh, you're a better person than I am. We're not gonna lie. I don't understand. The deal was with Miles Gaskin was that basically we weren't gonna argue about your lack of ceiling so long as you gave us the floor. The fact that he could be in a game that was not like completely out of reach, regardless, and
No.
have 2 carries for 3 yards, like that unacceptable. I don't see how you're going to be able to rely on him. Like you can hold him if you want, but he is droppable. If you need to pick up Damian Williams or something, I am fine to do that for sure. From Hamish, would you drop Ryan Tannehill to pick up either Sam Darnold or Trey Lance? My guess is not Lance for you, based on how you feel. But would you drop Tannehill for Sam Darnold?
I think I would. I think that I could pull the trigger on that one. Ryan Tannehill has been disappointing, but not a lot of this has been his fault. But without his best weapons with him, which is Julio Jones and AJ Brown, and they're going to miss quite a bit of time, you need to make room on your roster for someone that is startable immediately. And I think that is Sam Darnold for you here. If you like Trey Lance too, though, I'm not gonna fault you for wanting to take Trey Lance. I get his rushing upside 100%. Sam Darnold now has had this rushing upside, but who knows how long that's going to last when Christian McCaffrey comes back and is healthy because That's really how he's gotten this going, is without Christian McCaffrey. And there's so many weapons for Sam Darnold here that I feel okay getting rid of Ryan Tannehill. Which another thing that breaks my heart, because I was a Ryan Tannehill truther, and like to see this is very upsetting. But
I do
it
think that
happens.
I do think it's Tannehill if you had AJ Brown and Julio Jones healthy.
Yep.
Chances are you're not going to have them healthy for this matchup either, which by the way stinks because these are the matchups that you can exploit against the Jets, which
Yes.
look, to be fair, he didn't kill you from a fantasy perspective. I mean, I personally streamed Derek Carr over him and Carr
I had
got
Heineke over
yeah, well,
Derek.
Heineke worked though. Heineke
Yes,
worked.
it was
Carr
great.
didn't, at least. I know that was good as well. But you might have streamed Kirk Cousins also. That didn't work out for you either.
Ugh,
So
no.
he didn't absolutely torpedo your fantasy team. But again, I don't think either Jones or Brown is going to play this week, and they've got Jacksonville. That's a matchup you can exploit. After that, by the way, then you've got Buffalo. That's going to be kind of a tough matchup there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm fine to make the swap for Darnold. I don't know if I necessarily would, but I think it's fine to do if you want to. From Viverine, what should I do with Robbie Anderson? This is basically a question that I think we can post and talk about it every single week
Yes.
because fantasy managers are very upset, justifiably, about Robbie Anderson. What do you do with Robbie Anderson? Do you drop him or do you hold?
Okay, so Robbie Anderson, I hold on Robbie Anderson. And Robbie Anderson, you have to understand what he is. He is a low volume but high ceiling threat, very much like Will Fuller. And this was kind of his role when he was on the Jets with Sam Darnold. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense that he is re-fulfilling that same role when they're now in Carolina. Now he is going to have games, and I believe it'll probably come later on in the season where you're going to be like, oh my God, here's the Robbie Anderson game. But the
Yep.
hardest problem is going to be like, when do I start him for the Robbie Anderson game? So the reason I say hold is because he could have some really good trade value. So if you have the room to hold him, to wait for that game and then trade him away for maybe a more consistent piece, do that. But if you don't have the room and you need to put somebody on your team that you can rely on to get you more than just a handful of points, I can definitely see you being okay dropping him. So it's just really going to depend on what it is best for your roster at the moment, because now is when you got to stack those wins. You've got to get wins as we move forward. And then when Robbie Anderson starts heating back up, I don't see anyone running to the waiver wire to pick up Robbie Anderson. He may still be available when it starts getting a little better and a little better against these really banged up secondaries, which is where he can exploit teams. Not yet. Everyone's too healthy for him. So we got to wait until later on in the season when everyone has forgotten about Robbie Anderson, like defenses, and they're all like, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, oh no, Tommy Tremble, and then Robbie Anderson's like, remember me, and then he has a huge game. So that's not till later on in the season.
I pretty much co-sign everything you said. I'm trying to hold him if I can.
Even
It's
the part.
well, that's usually how I like to talk anyway. But
Excellent.
for me, it's been really disappointing in this game in particular. This game was a game it should have
It
happened
should have happened.
against the
Yeah.
Cowboys, to give up a ton of points to wide receivers, a ton of yardage, and you had Diggs probably shadowing for the most part DJ Moore. There's no Christian McCaffrey. The fact that it didn't makes me really pessimistic, but we have seen enough out of him in the past to make me want to hold him if I can. I
If you
just don't
can.
think you can start him. If you have to move on, you do. It's not a big deal because, again, I think you're right. I think nobody's going to be clamoring to pick him up
Yeah.
off the waiver wire. From Jacob Glazer, would you drop Dallas Goddard for Dawson Knox in half PPR?
No, I would not do that.
Okay. All right. Let me get a couple here. Would you? No, wait. That's not going to get there. Sorry. Let me get a couple of things. Okay. Here, I've gotten this question a lot. This is Zane B. Would you drop in PPR? Would you drop Robert Woods for Hunter Renfro?
Oh. Oh God, this is really hard. Okay.
Yeah.
If you need wins, and you like, let's say you're 1-3, or like something like that, and you need to have somebody that can get you points on a consistent basis, I might have to say yes, but I would really, really try to trade him away if you can, because he does have value. Just wait until he has a good game if you can. Like, oh, that is so stinky and hard. And that's another one that's heartbreaking for 2021, because
Yeah.
I love Bobby Trees.
I
Man, that
I
stinks.
I think there's got to be something that's gonna go right at some point for Woods. Like it just has to in this offense. It's not all gonna be Cooper Kupp. And again, he got a touchdown in this last game, but I do think that it just hasn't been there for him. At the same time,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ready to drop him just yet. I would probably hold even for a guy like Renfro. And somebody Invictus asks the opposite. If you have Van Jefferson, who's been more productive, frankly,
Hmm.
and you can pick up Robbie Anderson, do you do that?
So Van Jefferson, Robbie Anderson.
Would you make the swap, drop Van Jefferson, pick up Robbie Anderson?
No, I don't. No, I think I would hang on to Van Jefferson. Oh God, I hate that too because Deshaun Jackson's been involved in the deep play.
Yeah, they both have been.
Okay. I actually would go Robbie Anderson here. I think I would because that means you might have a little bit of room to spare on your bench that you can be able to kind of keep him there until the season progresses a little bit. So I might pick up Robbie Anderson for later. Not to
Okay.
play now though. This is a stash.
For Mitch Berman, I lost. Sorry, I'm checking. I lost Logan Thomas. Would you
Ah,
trade Antonio Brown for Kyle Pitts, or would you just prefer to hold and instead grab Zach Ertz off of waivers?
oh, okay. Zach Ertz, he had an interesting game, didn't he? It was like, oh yay, hi
Yeah,
Zach Ertz, I've missed you so much. But it's not Zach Ertz, it's Dallas Goddard, who's the tight end of choice for Jalen Hurts. Oh man, I don't know about Kyle Pitts either. This is really tough, but you have to have someone that's going to be playing. So, you know what, Dan? I think I'm going to need your help with this one because I kind of want to say yes, and I think it's gross.
I think I'm going to hold. I don't love Zach Ertz. And again, if Zach Ertz is really the only option for you on your waiver wire, that is a little worrisome. I agree with
Yeah.
that. But I think Pitts has just not given me enough. And realistically, it's not his fault. It's probably more Cordero Patterson's fault for taking away the
Hmm.
targets that should be going to Pitts at this point. So I think Pitts is just not reliable enough for me to trade a guy like Antonio Brown, who for the most part, is reliable. I know he had the one bad game in this past one. He should have brought in that touchdown, but he's a guy you started as a wide receiver 3. So I think I'd probably try to waiver wire my way through it if I could.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
see if you can get a little bit better tight end than Kyle Pitts because
yeah,
Antonio Brown has a ton of value.
that's also true. Here's a question for you. Sorry, this the sorry, the poll just came up right in front of me. As somebody who we're getting a lot of stuff, we have kudos to our producer who for putting up a couple of polls. But then I'm about to ask a question, and it came up right in front of the question. This is from B Dubs, and this is a question we've got a lot. There is a receiver out there we haven't talked about. It's Josh Gordon. He's getting sort of a lot of love. The Chiefs have signed him. He's reportedly in the best shape of his life, even though he really hasn't contributed from a fantasy perspective in years. What are your thoughts generally on Josh Gordon? Are you picking him up?
I would get like a powwow going amidst your league, try to like hit up that chat and be like, wow, Josh Gordon just signed with the Chiefs. Super crazy. And then see what the discussion looks like. And if people start getting excited, swoop in, grab him, then trade him
Yeah.
because he's going to have a phenomenal game, his first game back. And then it's going to be like, oh, yeah, Josh Gordon's here. I totally forgot in like 3 weeks. Like,
Is that what
just,
you do? Do you wait for the one big game and then you just get
yeah.
rid of him as soon as you can?
Yeah, because I think that people, his name value alone, and Jake Seeley and I talked about this too, like his name value alone has weight for people who have been playing fantasy for a little bit of time. They recognize that name and they recognize the potential of Josh Gordon. But I don't think it's there. The target monsters on this team are Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey, and apparently Jody Forster, Fortnet, whatever his
You,
name is.
you get, I mean, if you had that guy in your tight end pool, you are winning certainly for where you are. Yeah, I agree with you. I have no interest in adding Josh Gordon. And if Josh Gordon turns out to have turned back the clock by 5 years and stay on the field all the time, I will live with it. But it's
Kudos to
not going to
him.
be. Yep. Yep.
That's all I
I
got.
agree. I agree. I want to get to this question from Callum Brown, who's asked it a couple times. So we see you. Hey guys, hope you're both doing well. Full PPR. I'm third in waiver priority. So if I can't get Damian Williams, would you rather pick up James Conner or Samaje Perine if both are available?
I would go James Conner
Yep.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think that's right. And again, Connor he is kind of being the optimal version of what we thought he could be, which is certainly the goal line back, which is what we thought he could be. He's playing in an elite offense right now. So they're playing with a lot of positive game scripts, which leads to a lot of
Why
carries for
can't I
him.
be in a league where James Conner is available and
It
I
is
have David
true.
Montgomery and Christian McCaffrey? Oh,
I think it's fine. I think that's fair. But yeah, you're not in this league. So if you are, would you prefer though Damian Williams or James Conner if he were available?
that's a really good question. I think I would prefer Damian Williams because I know that Montgomery is going to be out for at least 3 weeks, likely five. Whereas there is the James Conner, Chase Edmonds situation for the Cardinals. So I
Mhm.
think I'm going to get a lot more out of Damian Williams in those 3 to 5 weeks at least than I would out of James Conner. But if you can't get Damian Williams, James Conner's a great option as well.
From Roman Reister, would you drop Brandon Ayuk for any of the top waiver wire options this week?
Oh, this is heartbreaking. Okay, again, this is going to be situational because I would say no. If there's any way that you can hang on to Brandon Ayuk, hang on to him. But if you can't, I get it. And you need a win. You can't just keep stashing players and hope that they start doing well. So I do understand that. See if there's maybe someone else. If you have two defenses, drop one of them. If you have two quarterbacks in a single quarterback league, you might want to think about dropping one of them. But if you absolutely have to, I can understand. It's just, I hope you don't have to. 'Cause I love
Yeah,
Brandon Ayuk.
I agree with that in that I do think like maybe I'm a stickler, but I still think there's going to be value for Brandon Ayuk later on this season at some point. But
Mm-hmm.
like you have said, you have to win now. And so
Yeah.
if that's your guy, if that's the lowest person on the totem pole on your team, you have to drop him and you have to move on because you can't just hold on to that. Another guy we talked about, Josh Gordon. Another guy that fantasy managers are asking about is T.Y. Hilton, actually, because it wasn't that long ago that Hilton was kind of a reliable option. R. Lewis Rogers asks, does T.Y. Hilton have anything left in the tank? Is he worth grabbing off of
Nope.
waivers?
Nope. I wouldn't waste
Completely
it.
out. Completely
Yep.
out. Okay. How about Laviska Shenault? We've obviously got DJ Chark now here out for, the rest of the season with the
Yeah. So
fractured
sad.
foot, I
Foot.
think. Foot, right? Okay, very good. I'm fine. Totally fine. So that, and obviously we saw in this game, oddly enough, it wasn't Marvin Jones who had been the most reliable guy on that team. It was instead Laviska Shenault. Now the Jaguars are I mean, as a Jets fan, it's bizarre to me to watch a team other than the Jets be this much disarray with everything that's going on with Urban Meyer. So maybe you don't want any piece of them whatsoever. But how do you feel now about Laviska Shenault coming off the big game with DJ Chark out for the season?
I feel very good about Laviska Shenault. We touched on
Ooh.
this a little earlier, but from my research, I think he might be like 70% rostered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yep.
high. So, but if he is available, I say absolutely go and grab him. So not only do I feel good about Laviska Shenault, excuse me, this makes me feel even better about Trevor Lawrence. So I don't mind this at all. And I think that if Urban Meyer is going to be a hot mess getting lap dances from strangers, then
Not
Trevor Lawrence
that.
is going to have to be the coach of this team. And he will. That is the kind of kid that he is. And he's going to be the one that's taking the charge here. I have no problem with that. Grab Laviska Shenault.
By the way, a lot of people asking about Miles
Lap
Gaskin
dances?
again.
That's sad.
Yeah, no, not lap dances. If they are, you're probably in the wrong chat. Sorry about this, but regardless, I do. People are asking about Miles Gaskin. We have mentioned it. I think both of us, Lauren, right? Just to reiterate, are comfortable if we have to drop Miles Gaskin, right?
Yes, yes. And do it with anger, with a purpose. Be like, "Oh, drop," because it'll feel
Ooh,
good.
I like
Yeah.
it. All right, sort of
That's
a
what I'm
spike
doing.
drop. I'm with you. That's fine.
Rage,
Um,
rage drop.
Rage drop. I also like that. Lance Evans asked, should you trade Calvin Ridley to get Keenan Allen in a full PPR league?
Interesting. There should be a lot higher ceiling for Calvin Ridley. Yes. I say no. Hold on to Calvin Ridley.
Okay, that's fine.
Oof, that's
Uh,
tough.
all right. So this is obviously a very shallow league. So we've got some pretty decent options here available on the waivers. But Tyler
Oh.
Knowles asks, would you rather pick up, and again, you
Hmm.
can grab any of them, Laviska Shenault, Corey Davis, or Jacoby Myers in PPR, and you have a small bench. So for the most part, you're not stashing guys. You need to play guys right away.
Laviska Shenault, yes. I like all of them. I mean,
Yep.
but really, just a hair above them is Laviska Shenault for me.
I think I like Corey Davis a little better. I
I
think
like that
this
too. I can't argue with you on that.
they're
But
close
it's
though.
it's,
They're
it's
really
so
close.
close.
Yeah, they're close. I really like that, and a little higher than Jacoby Myers, who also is very good. Like I can't believe these
All
guys
three
are
of them.
available. You must be in an 8-team league, but regardless, I do think that all three of those guys are good. I think I probably would have Davis slightly higher. You have Chenault slightly highest, but all
Slightly.
of them are right there.
I
A
love
lot of
Corey
people.
Davis this year, so feel you.
A lot of people are also asking about Juju Smith-Schuster. People are mad, I guess, that they're too high in our rest of season rankings. By the way, you want to check my rest of season rankings in like an hour because as soon as we are done with this, I'm going to finalize my rest of season rankings, get working on that trade chart right off the bat. But how do you feel about Juju Smith-Schuster rest of season? Terrible offense, not doing anything. Juju's not coming through. Are you dropping Juju Smith-Schuster or what?
I'm trading him if I can. I have absolutely no faith in Juju Smith-Schuster, and it's not Juju Smith-Schuster's fault. It's not. It's the Steelers. It's everything about what the Steelers are doing. It's Big Ben. It's that there's a hot mess going on. The JJSS that is Juju Smith-Schuster is like an SOS on the JJSS. Like this is no bueno. I don't like any of this. Another Jake Seeley reference, but yeah, I'm kind of fried today
Steely.
too as well. I know he's so
That's all
silly.
right,
He's like,
man.
you
You're
haven't heard of
crushing
it
it.
called JJSS? I was like, I've never heard it called that. It sounds like a ship, like the JJSS
That's what I was like.
Pennsylvania. We're going down.
Where
That's
are
what's
we?
happening. Mayday, Mayday.
Oh
That's what's happening.
goodness.
I don't have any faith in Juju Smith-Schuster. None.
All right, so we don't blame
Now watch
Juju.
him have a huge game, but
Oh
if he
yeah,
does,
here it
good for
comes.
him.
Here it comes. A dominant performance coming up right about
Absolutely.
now. But here,
Absolutely.
you are down on the Steelers offense correctly, in my opinion.
Not
There are
Deontay
two
Johnson.
guys for me in the Steelers offense that you can comfortably rely on, even if it doesn't look good. It's Deontay Johnson when healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and Najee Harris, just by virtue of the target volume. What about Chase Claypool? People asking about him. Would you trade Chase Claypool? Obviously had the hamstring injury, missed last week. Let's assume he's healthy. Would you trade him for somebody like Damian Harris? Now, this is a PPR league, to be clear, so that dings Harris's value a little bit, but that's from Mac M.
Does it though? Because I think Chase Claypool isn't a huge volume guy. That's Deontay Johnson.
It's true, but I mean
So,
more that Damian Harris dings his value because he doesn't catch any passes whatsoever, right? Oh,
but
unless that
still,
was Najee. Actually, hold on. Let me just make sure
yeah.
that
Is it
was
Najee
Damian Harris.
or?
No, it's Damian Harris. It's Damian Harris.
Okay, yeah, I still don't mind because if you're doing all that work in between the tackles, you're gonna make up that 1 point
Yeah,
that Chase Claypool can get if he gets a ball from a broken quarterback who seems to have trouble throwing it past 4 yards.
yeah,
So his best place to live right there is in the 4.4, 4.5 depth of target, which is Pat Fryermuth, by the way. So
mm,
that's who is a very interesting player on that team. Yeah, I would make that trade. Trade Chase Claypool away for someone like Damian Harris. Damian Harris can get game scripted out. We have seen that happen in the past,
yeah.
which is concerning, but so can Chase Claypool here. So the running back depth falls off of a ginormous cliff ravine, the Grand Canyon, and if you can get your hands on an RB1, granted a little bit less productive RB1, I would make that trade because I don't really rely on Chase Claypool that much.
Bruin Backhand says, how much longer, Lauren, are you
Oh,
willing to
jeez.
wait for, it wasn't directed at you, I'm just adding your name, to wait for Allen Robinson? Justin Fields
Oh,
doesn't even look his way. This is killing me, Lauren, because
it's,
I love Allen
I've said the
Robinson
word
as a player.
heartbreak. I need to get a broken heart shirt that I just wear for the show.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. It's terrible. You cannot drop Allen Robinson. Okay, you can't
correct.
drop him. You can definitely try to trade him, but you're going to get the most value out of him if when he has a really good game. However, with all of that being said, hold. He is going to be fantasy productive eventually. So give it a
Hmm.
few weeks. I mean, Justin Fields is a rookie behind a terrible offensive line who is running for his life and first downs and sometimes touchdowns. But yeah, it just gave this kid a little bit of time. They will create this. Allen Robinson can get it done. He has proven he can get it done. This is not the Darnell Mooney show yet. So be patient. How many? 2 weeks? I don't know.
Yeah, this is the worst
Awful.
possible situation.
This is the worst case scenario.
It is because you can't drop Allen Robinson so long as he's healthy because we have just seen him for years overcome really, really bad quarterback situations. And so you've got to give him the leash to try to do that in this situation,
Yes.
but also you can't possibly start him right now. I mean, last week, totally honest. I mean, I recommended him. I think it was like wide receiver 31. So still a wide receiver 3 for me, but it was somebody that I thought fantasy managers could get away with starting in that matchup against the Lions,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
it's
said the
just
same
terrible.
thing.
Yeah,
I said the
it,
same thing.
it's
It should have
it
been there.
yeah, it's just terrible. For well, let's see. Hold on, I want to get one good here. Other than a lot of people just complaining about Allen Robinson, which I
I
completely
feel you.
understand.
I
I
feel your
completely
pain.
understand. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. All right, how about this? No, sorry guys, I want to get there. Okay, I need help. Half PPR. I'm depth needy. Would you drop Trey Sermon, Tyson Williams, or Rondell Moore if your pickups are Michael Carter, AJ Green, Jameson Crowder, or Kenneth Gainwell?
Yeah.
Would you drop all of
Yes.
them?
Tyson Williams,
And
I definitely would. And what
for
was the what
sure,
was the first one you would drop?
Trey Sermon.
Oh, No, I don't
I
think
don't
I
think
would
I
get
would.
rid of
No.
Trey Sermon. I don't have a problem dropping Tyson Williams, and the third one was Rondale Moore.
Yes,
That one is
correct.
a little bit of a tough one because if you're dropping Rondale Moore to get AJ Green, I kind of get that because AJ Green has been a little bit more productive, more consistently in that offense. I get, but I have no problem dropping any of those guys because what you're looking at is fantasy production now. So
Yeah.
I'm liking those guys that are in that pool. So except for Trey Sermon, I would hang on to him, but the other two, yeah, I you can definitely, I think, drop one of those or both of those guys to pick up an array of the people that you just listed.
Wonderful. All right. Our time is up. I thank everybody here for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. We appreciate it. We're here every single Tuesday. I'll probably have a fill in next week for me because I got a little travel plans going on here. But regardless, thank you so much for stopping by. If you are on our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat, and you are a premium subscriber to Fantasy Pros, you can direct message me with a question. I will answer every single one. So go ahead and do that again, fantasypros.com/chat. In the meantime, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will talk to you again right here next week.